another WildWoods Beekeeping podcast. Thank you all for checking in tonight. I appreciate everybody who's watching us. And tonight we have Jake from White House on Hill. So thank you, Jake, for joining us tonight. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Glad to be here, Grayson.
Absolutely. I usually always start out with asking people kind of how they got started in beekeeping. So before we get started into some topics and some questions, I was wondering if you could just kind of share with us briefly kind of how you got started in beekeeping and kind of what y'all are doing now.
Yeah, sure thing. I started out just as a hobby about 5-6 years ago now. I think it was in 2019. I went to a conference in Kansas City that was all just about homesteading, and I ended up going to a talk. Oh my gosh, I just blanked on his name. Leo Sharashkin, Dr. Leo Sharashkin, and he owns the website horizontalhive.com, and he taught us about catching bees for free. And I was really excited about getting bees for free because I couldn't afford much at that time, and so ended up putting up some swarm traps, and we ended up catching 2 swarms in the fall of 2019. And it was a mess trying to move it over into our box. I screwed up and I built it all myself. And so there was no like standard size frames or anything, and they weren't fitting in my boxes. And so they were horizontal hives at the time. And it went pretty badly the first fall, but then we started over in the spring. And each year I've just gotten a little bit better, but it was kind of a mess the first few years. I was just trying to figure things out on my own. I thought I've done a lot of things on the farm and figured it out, raising chickens, raising exotic birds, getting a milk cow. We've learned a lot of things on our own. So I thought I could figure it out. And after probably about 2-3 years of not having the bees make it through the winter and losing them through the year, I finally found a mentor and started going to some local bee groups to learn more. And so for the past year, 2 years, maybe the last 2 years, things have been going a lot better. And we've finally been able to get our bees through the winter, been able to treat them for varroa mite, and then have quite a bit of honey this past year. So it's going much better now after maybe 5-6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you said that y'all raise chickens. I'm sure a lot of people watch y'all. Just share with us a little bit how you got into that. Chickens and cows and everything that y'all do there as well.
Yeah, so about 2015, we lived in Kansas City for about 10 years. When I got married out of college, my wife and I moved to Kansas City. And once we were able to sell our house, we moved out to a little rental, a little farmhouse out on a big farm. And that was the thing that my wife wanted, was to have some chickens for eggs. She wanted 6 chicks. And so we went to the farm store and got some chicks, and then ended up buying a lot more chickens along the way. But then we started going to YouTube to find out how to raise them. So when we went on YouTube, I started finding all these families that were homesteading. They were growing their own food. They were raising animals, chickens, milk cows, different things for food. And they were at home with their family. And I thought that was really cool. And so it was somewhere in there that I thought, wow, I could actually do this like full time. I could homestead full time. And I saw these people making a living using YouTube. And so it was May 2017 that I started our YouTube channel, and just kind of started as a hobby the first year, and it started to get going later in the year. And the next year I was able to be full-time in it. And so then we've been home ever since then, where I've been able to be at home with our family full-time and haven't had to go to another job. And so that was a couple different things there. That was, how did we get into YouTube? And then how did we, started getting into chickens and different things, but they kind of each supported each other. Doing the chickens led to YouTube. Doing YouTube has led to our farm we're on now. It's a much bigger farm than the rental we were on. And we're able to have all kinds of animals here. We have emus in our bathtub right now. We've got 5 emus that hatched out in the past week. And so we've got all kinds of things. A big aviary we just completed and put a lot of birds in. And the bees are a part of it that I really enjoy. It's a big hobby that I've really enjoyed over the past few years.
Yeah. Beekeeping to me is one of my favorite things. I've been keeping bees for about 8 years, I think. I started in like 2017. My mom got me started in it. So, we kind of
Okay.
did it together. So, we kind of did it together, but then I kind of started to take it over. But I do remember right when we got started, our first honey harvest, a lot of people think it might have been like, really fun and all. It was pretty fun, to harvest our first honey crop. But for a lot of getting the honey, it was a nightmare. These bees were all over a veil. They were mean.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't really a good experience, but got stung a little bit. But we were able to do some honey, like 7 years ago, somewhere around there, and haven't looked back. I did get some honey last year. I didn't have such a good year the year before, so which I know a lot of people probably didn't have such a good year since we had a dearth, a terrible dearth. So coming out of summer, didn't have anything coming out. So
you're in Alabama, right?
We're in Alabama.
So I'm in Northwest Missouri. So last year, actually, some of Missouri was dry, but we were pretty wet for most of the year. So we really ended up with a pretty good harvest. It got kind of bad towards the end, but we ended up with a really good harvest. Much better than my previous couple of years. And some of that was just that I was doing things better and I was getting more splits in and a lot of things. But I think it was a really good year in this part of the country. But I'm curious. So you said you started with bees, 7-8 years ago?
That's right, 7-8.
And your mom got you into it.
That's right.
What keeps you doing it? Why do you like it? What do you want to accomplish with it?
And that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. It is a hard question, but I think really just going into the bees and seeing what they do really does inspire me to keep going, because there isn't a whole lot of young beekeepers out there. There's a couple, but not a whole lot who want to get into it. But I guess just going out there into the bees, seeing what they do together to make something happen, making honey, all that good stuff. I think that's what really keeps me into it. That'd probably have to be my answer.
Do you do it by yourself, or do you do it with anybody else in your family?
We used to actually do it with my mom, and my brother would kind of help, but now I just do it by myself. I do YouTube videos. I try to share with other people, kind of what we do. Not really, some things I do kind of share and kind of teach people, but a lot of it's just kind of sharing kind of what's going on here. Because we've been getting a lot of broods, which has been pretty good to see down here in Alabama. I don't know about y'all. I know y'all a little bit more north, but down here in Alabama, we usually get some brood pretty early. We started getting brood in January, and we'll most likely keep growing here. And I know a lot of beekeepers down here are probably about to do some splits.
It is very cold here, so it is. It's going to be 0 degrees a few days this week, so we can't do much with our bees until sometime in March. Okay, so YouTube, I'd love to talk to you more about YouTube. I want to hear, and then you can ask me some more questions. But I wanted to ask you why did you get into YouTube? What made you want to make YouTube videos?
And that's a good question. And the reason why I think I started into YouTube wasn't really to get good views or anything. I wasn't in here to, go viral or anything. I think I really was just making videos for myself and for my family. I think that's the main reason why I made the channel. I published videos, and actually kind of talked about this last week as well to some other folks who asked. I published some videos and just to share out with family and, pretty much local people around here who are interested in bees. And then one day where I had one video that I did, I can't remember exactly. I think it was one talking about, I can't remember, but it was a video that I did. And then I uploaded it. And then the next day I kept on getting comment after comment. The views kind of went up. And I didn't know where this, what happened. So, but it ended up another beekeeper, through in our community shouted me out. So that's where I started right there. More people kind of came over and, shouted me out and kind of see what I was doing. And then I got on some interviews so more people would know me. That's kind of where I started. And then I decided to do live streams, every Monday night to get guests on like yourself and other people, which has been fun. Yep, that's kind of how I started. what about you? How did you get started in YouTube?
So 2017 or 2016 was when we got into chickens, and then I think it was like in the fall or spring 2017. So Justin Rhodes is in the homestead space, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he was going to take a tour of the country with his family. They got a bus and they did the Great American Farm Tour, and they went to every state. And we had actually stopped by his house once. He's in North Carolina. And so I thought he might stop by our place. And I thought we should do something to give him, to make the most of the opportunity. If he does come to our place, we should start our YouTube channel. And so I tried to start it in the fall of 2016. I filmed some content, but then I never edited it or put it up. Didn't really know what I was doing. And then it was like a month before he was going to come, and they came July 4th, like right around 4th of July. And it was end of May. And I finally decided to start our channel. And I just started posting videos. Like the first 30 days, I posted one every day of just everything we were doing on our little rental farm. And then when they got there, he might have had, I don't know, maybe 30,000 followers or something. And I think we had like 250 subs. We went from 10 subs to 250. And that was kind of our start. We just had a few people watching us, and I didn't tell anybody about our channel. And so that was kind of the start of our channel, was right around the 4th of July, 2017. And then I kind of treated it like a job, even though it was still just a part-time thing that didn't pay anything. We made sure we filmed every day. We tried to edit every day and tried to do something. I was just trying to learn how to do the YouTube thing, and tried to find out, like, figure out what our channel was going to be about. And somewhere in there started tried some hatching projects, and that's really when it started taking off, was when I hatched out some pea chicks, and the first hatch wasn't successful. And that's really when our channel took off, was when I started hatching out some peacocks, and then I started looking for other birds that I could hatch out. That's led us to our pheasants, our mandarin ducks, our emus. And then that just kind of gave us a direction with our channel. And then we've kind of ventured out onto a few other things with our milk cow, and with horses, and then with our aviary, and then with our bees. And so it's led to try different things. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I know, like with beekeeping, you've got to keep it kind of focused on your channel, kind of focused on something. And so at the beginning, we were probably trying to mix it up with like family vlog type stuff. And I don't know if that was quite our thing. So really the animals and the farm life was really what we found our niche to be.
I get you. Everybody has their thing that that does get on their channel. That's kind of how it is with me too. I do mainly beekeeping videos. I used to actually do, we used to have a lot of chickens. At least I would say 12, 15 chickens. Now I know to y'all that probably isn't a lot, but you had a decent amount of chickens. We only have one now, because the cool thing is, these chickens that we used to have, we all got them around the same time we got our bees. So like 8, 7 years old, and we only have one left now. So we need to get some more. But I used to put like a chicken stuff on my channel too, but I kind of just put it back on bees and stuff like that. I do have a couple. Go ahead. Okay.
I was just going to ask, are you doing all beekeeping, or do you do anything else?
Oh, I do mainly beekeeping. We used to, like I said, we had some chickens and some guineas, and that's probably about it. We don't have no more guineas because they're allowed and sometimes snowing. But then we do have one more chicken left. It's once in a while we'll lay eggs, but we need to get some more, because most of them didn't make it. Probably last year, some of them died, and this year a couple more of them died. So, old age, which is to be expected.
Yeah. Grayson, do you go to? Oh, I was going to ask, do you go to school, or do you go to homeschool, or do you homeschool, or what do you do?
We do homeschool.
You do homeschool, okay. That's what we do with our kids. So I was wondering, if you're in your area, do other kids like know who you are? Like they know you as a YouTuber or anything like that?
Probably not. I would have to guess. Maybe I'm sure some people around here locally might know me, but probably not a whole lot. If I had to guess, I have no idea if people know me, but I do
Okay.
know a lot. I'm sure a lot of folks know me around here. As a bee guy who will sell honey so they can come over and get honey, but I don't think a whole lot, but maybe some.
My last question on YouTube would be about like comments. How do you handle comments? They going pretty
Comments?
well for you? Yeah, comments on videos.
Oh, you mean like responding and stuff like that?
Yeah, like do you feel good with the comments you get? Have you gotten any negative comments?
Not really, honestly. I don't really get many negative comments. Most of them
Mm,
are good comments. But I
that's
know
good.
a lot of bigger channels do have problems with that, I'm sure. But I haven't really experienced a whole lot. Of course, once in a while you have a troll. Once in a while you have
Yeah.
things like that. But I haven't really had much of a problem.
That's probably the toughest part of it for me is dealing with the negative, because I'll get people that they'll say some tough things and some mean things, and
Yeah,
so and then I'll read 100 good comments and I'll read one or two really negative comments, and it'll kind of get to me for the day. So that's something that I always have to. I can only look at comments so often, otherwise it'll mess with me.
yeah, absolutely. I have a couple of topics that bring up. Folks in
Okay.
the comment, y'all feel free to ask some questions. We'll start them and we'll answer them in just a little bit. This one is about bees. Are you going to expand any this year? And if so, how many beehives would you like?
Oh, I forgot to take a picture of my. We were taking a walk tonight, and I was going to take a picture of some of our hives so I could show. I'll try to show the camera here. Okay, so this is one spot on our farm. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Okay, so those are our flow hives. So we've got 6 flow hives, and those are on one corner of our property. I need to go back and see if I have some. Anyways, on our other part of our property, we've got about 15-ish hives, and they're mostly Langstroth hives. We started with horizontal hives, and I've got 4 back there, but we only have bees in one of them right now. And then the 15 or so Langstroth hives, they all have bees in them. So we've got about 20 to 22 hives total right now. And I love experimenting with. We've had a few other hives that we've experimented with. The ivory beehive was like a round beehive we used a couple of years ago, and then the horizontal hives, and then the flow hives, fun to play with, and then but the Langstroth hive works great, really easy to harvest with having an extractor. So anyways, we've got the previous year we took it from about 7 hives up to what we have now, about 20, 22 hives. And so I'm not sure, the long-term goal. I was really happy with our harvest this past year. Would love to get a little bit more, but probably somewhere in the 20 to 25 hive range. I know I heard on the video you had with Greg, I heard you say you had 6 hives. And that's I think that was maybe my second or third year. I had it seemed like for a while I was doing like 5 to 7 hives. And that was going pretty well. And so the last like year or two, I started doing a lot more splits and started treating them for mites, and then getting them through the winter, leaving more honey for them because I was taking too much honey. So I've learned a lot the last couple of years to, finally be able to get that number up a little bit. But it takes a lot of time, and it's not the main thing I do, with all our other stuff on the farm. So I probably get 1 to 2 days a week out to spend out with them. So the 20 hives is going well. I may try to do, depending on what makes it through the winter, may try to get it up to 25 hives, and then I'll probably start selling some nuke boxes along with it. I've got a few friends that I want to get some hives too. So so that's kind of where I'm kind of at my max on what we have, maybe a few more. And then but like Greg, you had Greg on.
Yeah.
And we've got one of his some of his boxes that we want to put out and give them a shot. And so we may start another area with just like his with just some of his boxes.
Oh yeah, he has
So,
some boxes. I had him on probably about 2 months ago. I said I had 6.
yeah.
Right now I have 4 very strong colonies. The one of them was just one that probably didn't have any chance to make it through. It was like a softball cluster, like maybe this big, and last year was pretty weird. I had one nuke that was I had set aside just with some drawn comb. I planned to take it over late, move it later on. I went out to Beer one time and I was just checking and see how everybody's doing. And I just stumbled across that nuke, and there was a whole bunch of bees in there. Not a lot, but just a couple. So with a queen, and I tried to do my best to try to get them built up, but they were just kind of small. They weren't able to get through. And then the other one, it never really died. It just lost the queen, so I had to combine it. That's the main problem. I haven't really had too many problems with starving or anything. Mainly has been losing queens sometimes. For some reason, I lose queens a good amount of times. A lot of times, I'll be losing my queens this time of the year, so I gotta figure that out. But other than that, everything's going good right now. I have 4 colonies that are really strong, that are doing well, and be able to split some this year. I probably don't want to go too big. I'm hoping just somewhere around 4. I probably can get around 10, 15. I probably could get a good amount of hives, but I probably can get up to try about around 10 or 15, hopefully. Just depends on how the colonies come out of the winter. That's really the main thing that I always say whenever I'm talking about expanding. It really does depend on how they look coming out of February.
I saw you had Bruce. You had Bruce on one of your live streams.
I did. I had Bruce and Greg. I had Bruce on multiple times down here in Alabama.
Is he near you? Is he near you?
Yeah, he is. He's probably about an hour south of me, so he's very close. He's pretty close. Not too long. He's in Dothan, and I'm a little north.
Okay. Can you imagine? I think he's got like 100 hives, or I don't know, maybe he's got more than that, but I just can't imagine. I know they work their way through them pretty quick, but I just can't imagine at this point having that many. It just would be overwhelming to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably would be. Every time I tried to expand, a lot of times I always go back to the same number. So it seems like my best is probably around 4 to 8 colonies. It's kind of where I'm going to try to stay. Maybe 10 colonies is where I probably can be able to efficiently manage, not too many. Because I've always said, and I know a lot of beekeepers say it as well, I really would rather have quality hives over quantity, in my opinion. And of course, I do want to end up getting to a sideline business, because I've talked to people about that as well. Everything I want to do, I kind of do want to at least do bees for a living, but of course it'll take a while. I have a good amount of time to figure all that stuff out.
Sure, yeah.
I guess the next topic I wanted to, or question from me, and if anybody has questions, we'll answer those later. Like I said, what is some beekeeping mistakes that you have made but learned from them? Because I've made a lot of mistakes as well, but all beekeepers learn from them and all that. So I wanted to ask that, because a lot of beekeepers listen to me as well.
I've got some good ones, or I guess bad ones. I don't know. One of our biggest video on our channel is one where I got stung a bunch. I was replacing a queen in a mean hive. I think you were talking about harvesting your first year, and you had a bunch of bee stings as they attacked you. Yeah. And I had that kind of thing happen with. I had a horizontal hive, and we had a really mean queen, and I had a queen company reach out to us saying they'd send us a new queen for it. And so I went in and excuse me, and we removed the queen and killed her. And then I started having all the bees start coming out and attacking me. And I think I had my first suit had the zippers meet right here, but it didn't have a flap that came over it. And so I had a few bees that got in right at that triangle right there. And so I had 3 bees up in my veil, and I panicked, and I thought oh man, they're going to sting all over my face. And so I threw the veil off, and then all the bees swarmed my head. And so I think I had 11 or 13 stings that day. And that was rough. And I was just trying to run from the hives, and my wife, Becky, was filming, and everyone kind of made fun of her in the comments because she was filming instead of putting smoke on me or helping me or something, but she was doing a great job. But it's funny to see the comments on that. But that was a rough one. And then I've learned some different things. Sometime after that, I was I was checking out a queen, or I was marking her or something, and I was holding her with my gloves, and I had no idea about. Anyway, when I held her, just like on the two sides of the glove, she basically went unconscious, and she wasn't moving, and so I thought I killed her. And so some of the bees came over and they revived her, and it was like, I thought it was a really cool video, but then everyone told me how dumb I was because they breathe on the sides, and so I was like blocking her air basically. And so I learned to handle queens differently after that, and then to mark them using a queen marking cage. Some other dumb mistakes, probably with some with some of the swarms. We've caught a lot of swarms over the past 4 or 5 years, and I had a few of the traps. Like the first year was, I had the wrong size frames that I built to go in my horizontal hives, and so they didn't move over into those boxes well, and so all the comb ended up falling down in there, and those hives end up dying or flying off. And then we had a couple that we went to retrieve, like one of the swarms I had up in a tree, and the box was sitting up there, and I was taking the ratchet strap, taking it off that was holding it to one of the branches. And then I think I turned for a second because I thought the box was sitting right there. And I turned for a second to set the strap down or drop it. And then I turned back and the box fell off the tree limb, and we were like 15 feet in the air. And so Becky was down there, and the homeowner, it was at a friend's house, and they were all down there watching. And the box falls down, smacks the ground, and then the bees all start flying out and stinging everybody. And then that family had, like, the bees were messing with them for like a week after that. So that was a mess. So I've learned to do some easier swarm trap boxes that I get off Amazon now that just are easier to handle, so I don't drop something like that. So those are just some of the goofy stuff. I'm sure there were some different. It seems like my kids, I've got 3 boys that go out and help when I do the bee stuff. Eli's 12 now, and Uriah's 9, and Isaiah's 5. And they'll go out and help, and they all end up with like a bee sting, it seems like, every year, somewhere on their face, and their eye swells up. So we're just trying to minimize the bee stings, especially for them, because that'll really swell up around their eye. Yeah. Those are some of the bigger mistakes. And so we've gotten better suits, we've gotten better swarm traps, we've gotten better at working with the bees so we don't get stung as much, getting better at working with the queens. So all the mistakes, I think Greg even said it, all the mistakes are just lessons learned. And so those are things that we've improved on and learned from. But it kind of stinks to have like your worst moment, the bees getting in my veil and throwing it off. And that's like the most viral moment on my channel. And so if anybody, is going to come to my channel for beekeeping, now when they see it, they'll see that I have a better idea of what I'm doing. But if they see that video or some of the stuff I did back then, I was pretty awful. And so I lose a lot of credibility when people see those videos.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of mistakes that I've made as well. I can't really think of a whole lot.
Come on, tell me a good one.
I gotta think of them real quick. I've made a lot of mistakes whenever in my beekeeping career, journey, and of course, like Greg says, I've actually talked to him about that whenever we did our live stream about making mistakes. And those are just hard lessons to learn. You have to learn those and become a better beekeeper. I really believe that mistakes, really do help you beekeepers become better beekeepers. It's really helped me with that a lot. There's some mental mistakes that I've probably made as well, like not really being intentional with my bees. Like a lot of people, I'm sure you might have heard the term, but there's a lot of times where I go into my beehives for no reason. Just going there just to look at them and do nothing. Not having any intentions. And
okay,
that was one little problem that I had. I've been better at that. I've been going out into the bee yard to have a purpose, something I need to do. One big one, also mentally, a mental beekeeper's thing is I wasn't really being proactive. Every time I had a problem, I was being reactive of the situation. I wasn't being proactive at doing what I needed to do. But those are some things. I do remember some things that I did that probably weren't really smart. There was one time where I went out to the bees and was starting to inspect, and I decided, hey, I should just take off my gloves and try to inspect the beehive without gloves, and that didn't go well. I was pulling up frames, just doing some stuff, and they got me right on my hand. But good thing is my stings really don't affect me too bad. That's one good thing I can say.
It makes you mad, doesn't it? Seeing all the people that work with their bees without a suit on.
Yeah, they
do.
See,
like, you'll see a Cayman Reynolds or somebody, and you're like, man, I want to be like that. And then you try to go out and do it, and then you get you can start hearing them buzzing around you, and you're like, I don't think this is going to work great. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Right whenever I tried that, I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. So therefore, I've always worn a suit, gloves, everything I need to do to keep me from getting stung, because down here in Alabama, we usually do have a good amount of spicy bees. So it's not really a good idea whenever you're down here in Alabama or down south to go into a beehive and without suits a lot of times. But some beekeepers do with more nicer bees. But it's never really worked good down here. And anytime I go into the bees, even if they are Italian, sometimes we do have some spicier Italians, some Italians that are more gentle than some of our stock, but still are kind of spicy. That will still get after you. But I remember having one colony, and you can go on my channel. You might have seen it somewhere. Some people might have seen it. It was one of my most popular videos. I really don't know why I even got popular. It has 4,000 views and like 150 thumbs up or something. It was like one of my most viewed videos, and I have a couple of others as well. I was just basically inspecting a hive. I just wanted to make some splits. I don't know why I got a lot of views. I think the main reason was because when I was inspecting this colony, they were really mean. They were all over my veil, all over my suit. Very mean colony. And then I went in the comment section. You can just look. Everybody was hammering me, trying to get rid of the bees, because they were mean. Advising me to get rid of the queen, which I never did. I kept the queen because I liked the queen. She laid good. Everything was good, but that colony is not alive no more. They unfortunately didn't make it through winter a couple 2 years ago. But I didn't replace the queen. I just left her how it was. But that's one thing that happened to me. I remember it was a very mean colony. I've had multiple mean colonies. I've honestly got better at handling meaner colonies. I don't know what it is. Like a lot of times, I used to would be really freaked out, not really collected. But whenever I went into that colony, and you can look at what I was doing, I really wasn't nervous or anything. I just went in there, did what I needed to do, got out, and I did get one sting, but that's one thing I did. I did get one sting, but that was probably about it.
Yeah.
See, I think I got. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, when you were talking about just getting into the bees for just to look at them or for no reason, that was one of the things my mentor talked to me about. It always stayed with me because sometimes I do that too. And he told me, one, every time you get in them, you're probably going to set them back like a day because they're going to have to fix different things that you break apart. And then you typically kill something like 20 to 30 bees at a minimum every time you get in a hive. And so I always try to remind myself that every time I get in, like, what's my purpose for getting in here today? What am I trying to accomplish? Because I'm going to mess the bees up. And if I start messing things up too bad, then I'm like, I better get out of here.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened with me. Whenever I keep on going into the colonies, so many times, I was delaying the process, making honey, and all that, breaking propolis and all that stuff, and maybe accidentally killing some bees as well. So that's why I've always tried my best. Now, of course, I'm not perfect at it, but I've been getting much better at just going in there when I absolutely need to. If I need to go out there to really do an inspection that needs to be done, try to separate those a good amount apart, like maybe 2 weeks, because it can definitely set them back. And I've definitely learned that before. Almost every single day, a couple of years ago, I went into colonies because I couldn't keep myself out of them. Everybody does, because I'm sure pretty much everybody's done that.
I was gonna say that as I get more hives, it gets harder to get to them all every day. So
That's right.
that's part of it too. When you have like 4 to 6 hives, and you're like, all right, come on, guys, I really need you to do well here for me. And so that's one of the good things about growing your amount of hives. It makes it tougher to spend time with each hive, but
Right.
then it gives each hive it gives you a better chance, like you're playing the lottery with all your hives. Each hive's going to be able to produce, some of the hives will produce more than others, but then it gives you a chance to where you could work with like a couple hives each day, and then while the other hives get a rest maybe from being checked a previous day. But yeah, but it gets tough because I usually go to like the flow hives are 6 of them, so I'll go to them like on one day, and then another day I'll go to the other hives. And usually if I do it in the last couple hours of the day or something, I may only be able to get to 5 or 10 hives at a time. So it just depends on the day. So it does get tough to get to them all, but I don't know. That's how often are you able to check yours now? I probably check mine probably once a week once they start going. Yeah.
Yeah, probably somewhere around once a week. Sometimes we can
Yeah.
have. It really depends on if I'm busy or not with other things. If I'm busy with other things and can't get into them, sometimes it can be longer, which sometimes can be better. But I try to get in there once a week. Keep a good span apart, especially in spring. It's really important for me to try to keep that that time frame apart. Not get in there too much, but also be able to you know, get in there, not too, less, be able to make sure I'm not having swarming or if I need to prevent anything.
When does your swarm season, when does that run? Because we're like right now, we can't get into our bees. It's too cold. So it's usually like end of March, probably into April is our swarm season. When's yours?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think it really does depend, depending on when they start getting going. But usually, it could be any time. I'm really thinking it's probably gonna be pretty soon, sometime mid-February, late February, especially when nectar gets going. I think it's really whenever the bees start to get going, especially whenever our nectar flows.
Yeah.
And then that's really whenever things start to kick off, and drones as well. Once the drones start, then that's really whenever things start to get going. Probably
Okay.
late February, early March is probably when we start really getting going to do do some splits and have swarms.
How do you handle it? Do you kill the swarm cells, the queens that they're producing? Do you do the splits? How do you handle it?
Yeah, that's good. Good question. I've never really killed any swarm cells or anything. I usually just split them. That's kind of what I've always done: split them and make some more colonies. This year, though, I have a really much more of a different plan. It's kind of the same concept, but a little different. I'm hoping to have 4 good, very very strong colonies, and then whenever I want to make my splits, I'm gonna wait till they make some swarm cells because those are the quality queens.
Mm-hmm.
Swarm cells are really good quality that time of year, and then I'll hopefully have maybe 10 queen cells that I'll be able to cut off, and preserve them. And then what I'll do is I'll make all my splits out of all the colonies, check for more swarm cells as well. And that's probably what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to put those swarm cells in each split. It's probably what I'm going to do this year. Just depends on how everything goes. But that's kind of what I'm going to do. But I do usually do splits.
That's what I did this past year. I did splits, moved the swarm cells over so they'd produce queens, but I think I confused myself occasionally, and I probably missed some swarm cells that I thought were part of those splits. And so I think I had a couple hives that were getting really good size, really good and going, and they end up splitting on me, and I missed it. And we have some swarm traps around our property too, and so we ended up catching, I think, 3 swarms on our own property. So I think I may have lost a couple, but I think I caught most of the swarms. But that was the hard part, was trying to do the splits, see the swarm cells, and then sometimes I'd miss it. And so I got to figure out what I want to do on that this year, because It's only going to be worse if I have more hives to deal with. Last year I started with 7, and I was able to do like 2 to 3 splits off some of them throughout the spring. And this year it'd be really tough with like 20 hives if I'm to keep track of all those splits and make sure I'm not losing other swarms. But I know it's part of the deal is that you're just going to lose some too.
Yeah. I do have a couple more topics, then we'll answer some of the folks' questions in the chat. If you have any, feel free to answer them. What are some things you want to do this year? I know we already talked about, expanding, but what are some things that you want to do with your bees, honey, wax, and so on?
Okay. So we did get some, I'm trying to remember the easy, what was that called? So we did want to do some comb honey. Oh, simple comb. We got some simple comb at the North America Honeybee Expo, where it's like these plastic frames that you can fold over, and then they'll put the comb right in there, and then it fits right in a wooden frame, and then you can take it out, put the plastic back over, and then you can break it off into I think like 6 or 8 different things. So that'll be fun. And then honey, we did really well this past year. We've sold out of our honey the last couple of years, so we could never produce quite enough for what we need. And then I think it's going to be either growing some queens, trying to just have extra queens ready, either doing some nukes or trying to actually create queens with like a hive just for queens production. We'll see. I'm tempted to try that, and then possibly sell some nukes or just have some nukes ready in case I need them or in case somebody needs them. So I think getting our hives back up to 20 to 25 and then getting some nukes going either to sell or just to have as backups is my plan.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question, and this was one of the videos that I do remember. I don't know if you have it or not, but I remember watching it. Is that circle hive or that see-through hive or whatever it was? Do y'all still have that, and is it going good?
No, so that was one that was it was kind of some of the shorts and different things were viral on that. I think people loved it. Some people hated it. It was a really interesting idea. I need to make a short on that because I ended up filming kind of how the demise of that hive. But basically the wood is very thin, and then it has insulation inside of it. And so for those that don't know, it's called the ivory beehive. And it's a really beautiful hive. It's round. I stained it. It's got a lot of cool features. The frames that go in it are round, and it was fun to work with, but it does not do really well in our winters. And so it kind of the wood started deteriorating really fast in our winters. And so it was a really fun hive, but it did not last quite 2 years for us. So I don't think it's quite worth the investment unless you're like in a really warm climate.
Yeah, absolutely. If y'all have questions, feel free to answer them. I guess we'll answer some of them in the comment section. I'm making sure I don't have any more topics in my thing. I always keep my topics in my notes or whatever just to make sure I don't forget them, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't have many topics to talk about. I think that's pretty much all of them.
Grayson asked somebody ask you what are nukes. Can you tell them what nukes are?
Yep, that's pretty much. Richard's down there said radioactive beehives. Yeah, that's where they are now. They're not radioactive beehives, but they are. You could say that they're pretty active. There's 5 frames in the nuke. It's 5 frames and brood, maybe some honey. It's a starter hive. And those are actually my favorite. I really like nukes. Every time I've bought a beehive, whether it be from whatever seller it is, to expand or anything, whatever I need it for, I've always liked to go to nukes. I used to use packages, but nukes are basically just a starter hive, 3 frames of brood usually, and then on the outside will usually be honey or empty comb the bees can go on but a lot of beekeepers use them. A lot of debate between nukes and packages. I like nukes more, but of course packages are good as well. I used 3. I got 3 packages one time, and that's probably about it. Then I've got a lot more nukes.
And you can make some money with it. If you need to make some money, you can sell them. I don't know what the going rate is where you're at, but it's probably about $200 for a nuke where we're at. So you can always make some good money to pay for your other equipment with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been thinking about trying to sell them at one point. A lot of beekeepers do it. You can make some money out of it as well, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to try to just expand this year, do my splits if I need to.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're doing splits or trying to expand, of course, you might not be able to get a lot of honey or anything unless you set aside a couple halves, production halves that you want.
Oh, is he talking about mine? So Spooky Sammy, somebody's asking if I've got a microwave oven in my bathroom. So I have incubators because I incubate birds all the time. And so up here is an incubator with emu eggs in it. And then I move them down to one over here. I've actually got it. I'm cleaning it out right now. But I'll have an incubator down here that I'll put the emus into. So this is kind of my workspace computer where I edit, do my work on. And then I have incubators all over this room where I do my incubating projects. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on in here.
Yeah. Let me just do something real quick. There we go. I do have some moderators. We might have some trolls in there. Yeah. Just be careful. I remember having one live stream where I had a lot of trolls in there. I mean, I usually don't have trolls or anything. If y'all have any more questions, feel free to ask them. I'm just going to go through the comments because whenever I'm doing these live streams, the comments always go by so fast. So if I miss one, after 3 years, what's the best way to remove old brood frames and add new? Let me think.
Is he talking like the frames are bad? Because you could just keep using brood. Do you really need to remove it? Is it because there's pests that are like the beetles and mites are on there or in there? But it seems like as long as they're in good shape, you could probably keep using them for quite a while, couldn't you?
I probably can, yeah, you probably can after 3 years. Yeah, I've always, I had to remove some brood frames not a while back, but I've usually have a lot of brood comb not brood comb, drawn frames that I reuse. But if it's old brood frames, you can always add some new, put them in the middle there. Give me a second. I'm having problems with these. There you go. I have my brother in the comments. Just try to delete things that is there. I've never really had many problems with trolls, but it seems like we have a couple down here tonight. This is the second time I've had problems with this, so I apologize for that. Let me see here. There we go.
I'm scrolling through the comments too, see if I see any questions in here.
Yeah. Just a second real quick. A lot of times I don't know. Let me see. I'm trying to delete trolls. We have some spammers in here. I used to have some moderators who would help me out with this, but they're not in here tonight, so I gotta.
You had one earlier. I saw one.
Yeah, Gunline Bees. He was down here.
Yes.
A little bit. I'll say this while I'm doing this. I had the same exact problem for some reason with a live stream a while back, where people just for some reason started spamming everywhere out of nowhere. I had no idea what was going on or anything. That happens sometimes, but I had to do it. I had to get more people in here to moderate this thing. So let me add some moderators real quick. I see Castle Hives in there because I'm going to need some help getting rid of these trolls. What you can do is you can go in settings and you can just put people as moderators to do stuff. So I gotta find that. There we go. Let me just
the number just jumped up about 10 people. So
yeah, that's exactly what it is. There is just these these trolls just popping right in. But I did see Brian in there, so good to see you, Brian. Thanks for joining in. I think they had you on not a while back with the stream team.
Yeah, it was maybe I don't know. Yeah, maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that.
There you go. Got oh, Cass, I just need you to help out, just delete some trolls because I don't have many moderators on here tonight, so I gotta add some. But if y'all do have any more questions, feel free to put them in there. We're already 10 minutes. We'll kind of wrap this thing up really soon. But I do see some folks in here. We have Brian from Castle Hives, Gunline Bees, and Jason, Russell, and Jessica. Hope all is well besides these silly trolls. Yep. Yep, everything's going good. You know, we've just been kind of talking about bees and all that good stuff. So it's good to, yep, Jason, I see what you did there, Jason. Just making sure this live stream is
dialed in.
Yeah, because I've been seeing, you know, Brian with those cool things.
This Hive dial, yeah, the dials.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. That you can see if you know you have some queens that are, if it's mated or if they're you know queenless. That's honestly pretty cool. I need to get some of that, but I did almost forget. I did today get some bee booster, so we can kind of talk about stimulant. I don't know if you feed or if you don't, but I was able to get some of this stuff. It's just brood booster on Amazon. I'm gonna try to start feeding very, very soon to try to boost these bees. That's one thing I really like to do this time of the year is boost my hive numbers up, which is you know, feeding and stuff. But that does bring me up to this topic. Do you feed, and how do you, if you do feed, how do y'all feed, and if do you use any supplements or anything like that?
I feed a little bit as needed. We started getting the I don't know if they're 2 or 3 gallon. I think they're 2 gallon feeders. Yeah, I used to use like the little ones, the little like quart jars. They're like this size that you just hang right on the front of a hive, and the bees were going through them too fast. So we started getting the 2 gallon feeders and putting them out, and those have been doing well when we do that. I don't need to right now because it's just too cold out for us, but that was one of the reasons I started leaving 2 boxes on. In the past, I was losing some hives in March when they would start, the bees would start coming out. So
yeah,
so when the bees would start coming out, I thought, oh, I'm good. Like I used to think they're all set, they're flying, and didn't realize how fast they were just going through their resources. And I think for a few years I had them, they had them on one box. Both the flow hives and my Langstrasse, I had them all just on one box. And so now I don't take as much honey. I leave them 2 boxes, and we'll see how that goes this year. It's the first year that I've done the 2 boxes. So I'm hoping that I'll check them here whenever we get warmer weather and see how they're doing on their resources and see if I need to feed here coming out of winter. But yeah, usually I feed for as long as they need it. I hear when I could tell last year, as soon as they stopped taking from it, when they were really good, when there were good things to get nectar from, then they stopped taking from the feeders. So I could definitely tell the switch when they left the feed alone. So I did that probably for a month last year in the spring, and then I was good the rest of the year. They had plenty to feed off of in the fall, so I haven't had to feed since last spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to plan to start feeding somewhat very soon to, you know, build up. Not just yet, but it's been pretty warm down here, so that's a good thing. You know, it's been 70 degrees actually, it was one time 80 degrees. So it's been very, very warm the last couple of days. It's supposed to have a lot of rain this week, which isn't always the funnest, but I guess we'll have to deal with that. Probably not many hive inspections this week, but I did.
We've got snow coming. We've got snow coming like tomorrow night. So I'd rather have rain than snow.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually did recently have some snow.
I know. I saw Bruce talking about it. Yeah, it was like in January. You guys probably had some snow.
We did. We had some snow. It was like 4 inches somewhere around there. And for a lot of people, that is not a lot of snow. But for us, that was just a power load because we usually don't get any snow, and if we have a touch bit of snow, it's like maybe a couple flakes here and there that will kind of fall, and that's pretty much about it. And the last time we had a really good snow was probably when we were little, before the bees. So probably 9 years ago, if I'm correct. But it's been a while since we had that much snow. But then we just all of a sudden had so much snow, 4 inches. The trees were covered. Trees weren't used to it, so a lot of limbs were kind of hanging very, very low. Didn't snap, which I was thankful of. But usually don't get snow around here. But supposed to get a little bit of rain. Supposed to stay in the 60s and have next week and all. But yeah, it's been warm. It's been good weather to do inspections and stuff. I've been holding off on any splits or anything like that, because I know a lot of beekeepers down here are going to start their splits, down here in Alabama in February. But I expect we'll probably have another cold snap. But that's because usually, even if it does turn a lot warm, there's a chance where here in February or even March we'll have one little cold snap, and then we'll be in spring.
Yeah,
that's what usually happens down here.
I see one from Steve. I think we kind of talked about it a little earlier, but what method do we use for swarm management? And that was we were talking about whether to kill swarm cells or not. And sounds like neither one of us had done any of that. We just were doing splits. And so when we started seeing swarm cells, if the hive was in good shape, I said that I would do a split, and then I would let them grow a queen in the new split. And then I lost a couple hives, I think, to swarms, but I had some swarm traps around our property. So I ended up catching 3 swarms. I probably lost 2 or 3. I saw one just fly off right when I was out there. That was pretty wild to see. Yeah. To all of a sudden see so many bees up in the air, and then just to see them kind of fly away was really sad. But it was it was a pretty good year overall, where we caught most of our swarms, or we did splits with them. So that was pretty much how we handled them, Steve.
Yeah. Actually, I got to correct myself. It was actually around 8 inches here.
Okay.
So I guess somewhere around that margin. I know right whenever it started to snow and we were out with our granddad, just kind of looking around and stuff, helped him out with getting snow off the roof, because it could pile in, especially with a little more slimmer roofs. But we measured it there and it said around 3 inches. But it kept on snowing the whole day, and kind of went into the night, like 8 p.m. or maybe 7 p.m. and then it stopped. And then the next day actually stayed. It was pretty cold the next day, so it didn't go away. It didn't melt or anything. So it took it a little while to melt. And then I think the next day, so this happened on Tuesday. I think everything kind of melted on around Thursday or Friday. Yeah, that's kind of how everything goes down here. Usually down here in February and January, no snow, but that was pretty cool. It was a really cool experience to be able to see some snow. It's really once in a lifetime experience, really, honestly, with our history of not having a lot of snow or anything like that. But it was pretty interesting to see and all. But rain, that's about it in the future. So, yeah. If you have any more questions, we'll answer them. I guess we'll kind of start closing things out here, since we're here at an hour. Thank you, Jake, for joining us tonight. It's been a really fun live stream. Talked a good amount of topics and questions. Yeah. Thank you for joining us and spending time.
Yeah, it was good to meet you, Grayson. A lot of fun to hear about what you got going on, and just keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job on your channel.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you. And good luck to you too, and hope your year goes well, and hope everybody else's spring goes well. So I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all for watching. Please go on and click the thumbs up button and check Jake's channel out, White House on the Hill, if you haven't already. Good stuff there. So I guess we'll see y'all later. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.